Hey, welcome to Super Switch Heads, the premier Nintendo podcast in all of the internet. Thank you for being here. In this episode, we are talking about the Nintendo 3DS. We'll also discuss rumors, but first of all, let's introduce ourselves. My name is Matthew Stoner.
My name is David Howe.
Robert Trailer. And Jeremy Franklin.
Welcome, guys. Welcome back. You guys are our first returning guests.
Yay!
Hello. Very good. Unfortunately, Patrick is out this week. He had a gaming-related emergency. I actually think that's true. I don't even know why he's not here, do you?
No, it's gaming.
It's he just had to game really hard the whole week. But he's doing something. So Patrick's out, but we got two very special guests in today. Yeah, we're going to be talking about some great stuff. This is kind of going to be a 3DS post-mortem for the second half of the episode. I just want to give a quick shout out to AJ. AJ was working the bar and he says that he listens to the podcast even though he doesn't have a Switch.
Whoa.
He says he listens every week. Yeah.
Shout out to AJ.
Thank you very much, AJ. Also to Jimmy Rothman, who has been a very loyal listener of the show. I post about it every single week whenever we post an episode. Thank you so much. If you enjoy the episode as well, feel free to make like Jimmy and post that shit.
Yeah,
thanks,
also,
Jimmy.
Also, shout out to James, who sent us a episode suggestion.
Yeah, which we'll be doing soon.
We'll be doing that soon. So
Games Done Quick episode. That'll be a lot of fun. But other than that, you guys ready to get into some news? Should we just get straight into it?
Let's get into the first piece of news, which is we just watched the Pokemon business strategy announcement.
Yeah,
So
that was
formal.
crazy. That happened right before we recorded.
Yeah, it was a 30-minute announcement where the Pokemon Company, as well as Niantic and a bunch of other companies like DNA, announced some new Pokemon games and some other services.
Yeah, I took a couple notes during the announcement. I'll just kind of run through the main ones here. So it looks like there is a Detective Pikachu sequel in the works for Switch.
Yep.
At least as far as we can tell, it seemed like that's what they were saying.
Can't wait for that, yeah.
Yeah, hopefully they bundle in the first
had
game.
kind of a cliffhanger, yeah. Like
Yeah,
they were saying
yeah.
At the end of it, so.
They also said like the movie did really well, and it's like we look forward to you playing the game to see an alternate ending to what you saw in the movie, right?
Yeah.
So it'll be kind of something a little bit different for people. They talked a little bit about a Pokemon Center opening up in Shibuya and in China. So there's going to be, and China was a big part of this press conference too.
Definitely.
Like a third of it was in Chinese, and it was like very much they're trying to expand that market, right?
Yeah.
Oh, the biggest one I think was the announcement of Pokemon Home, which is an app both for Switch and mobile phones, and it's basically it seemed like it was basically Pokemon Bank 2.0, right?
Yeah.
But with a lot more like IRL integration.
Yeah, they showed like this graphic about all the Pokemon games, Pokemon Let's Go, Eevee and Pikachu, as well as Pokemon Go, and can go to Pokemon Home.
Yeah, and all the stuff from Pokemon Bank.
Yeah,
as well.
and from Pokemon Bank. But the only way to get stuff out of Pokemon Home is for Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Right. Yeah. I guess you can transfer it into the new Switch game. So that's pretty exciting. That's pretty cool for people that have been saving their Pokemon since the Game Boy Advance days.
Yep.
You know?
Yeah, and they announced you can like trade from it too. From anyone from
that's
the
pretty cool.
smartphone app. Yeah, so that'll be really cool.
Yeah. So you don't even have to be in game to trade Pokemon
exactly.
anymore.
You can just do it straight from your iPhone or
That's
Android.
pretty cool.
Yeah. Did they say anything if it was going to be paid or like subscription
I
based?
don't think so.
Not
I don't
yet.
think they mentioned it. I don't know that they would at this point. It seems like it said it was coming in 2020, so it's still a little ways off.
Yeah.
I bet we'll hear.
That'll be
hearing,
interesting because Pokemon Bank was paid. I think it had a small subscription.
It's $5 a year.
Yeah.
Does anyone here have Pokemon Bank?
I do not.
I didn't get it because
Yeah.
I think I had to pay for it. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like,
Yeah, I have it.
I'll
I
just
got it
keep them
like
in my games.
6 years ago.
Yeah.
and I definitely put a bunch of stuff in there, but then just let it go. I only got it for 1 year. But I liked it. Yeah, it's $5 a year.
I had an unfortunate stage where I lost a bunch of my old Pokemon DS games. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I'm just keeping them on 3DS.
Well, if that graphic was to be believed, I mean, it's probably not the case, but it'd be cool if you could just bring every single Pokemon into Sword and Shield.
Well,
you know what I mean?
Pokemon Go has made it really easy to do that with pretty much anything.
That's
now,
true.
And that's what it sounds like.
And they all use the same models and everything in Pokemon Go, so it wouldn't be that far fetched.
Yeah,
but
and they're up to Gen 4 now.
But we have so much news, so let's move on. The rest of the press conference, basically, I'll just kind of go through these quick. It looked like they went into this weird bit for like 15 minutes about how the Pokemon Company is trying to turn sleeping into entertainment. And this was really bizarre. This basically seemed to me, it was giving me flashbacks of like Nintendo's quality of life kind of initiatives that they were doing during the Wii days. You know, they had like the vitality sensor and stuff like that.
Yeah,
and
the
like
balance board.
Exactly. Right. And it seemed kind of like they moved some of their team over from that into the
I don't think
Pokemon
they
Company.
do that anymore.
Yeah, so the details on this were really sparse given how long they talked about it, but it seems like basically you'll be catching Pokemon while you sleep. I don't know. Very odd to me, very creepy.
Yeah, they announced a new hardware device called Pokemon Plus Plus.
Oh god.
Fantastic
It's
SEO.
Pokemon plus the word, and then the plus symbol.
So you can use it to catch Pokemon within Pokemon Go, and then it also does something while you sleep, and that has not really been revealed.
And I think you can like go use it to go actually by Pokemon centers and stuff, and
I
the
guess.
Pokestops and Pokemon
Yeah.
Go, which,
In the video, it just showed Pikachu sleeping next to you, so maybe
very odd.
yeah.
Also, if you die in Pokemon sleep, you die for real.
You die in real life.
Oh no!
They did say that the Pokemon Company's mission statement was to enrich both the real world and the virtual world with Pokemon characters. So this is kind of like a weird neo-dystopian future that I saw in 1998 when I first started playing Pokemon. You know what I mean? Like maybe one day. I mean, I just get on manufacturing real-life Pokemon, you cowards. Okay, we know you can do the genetic engineering. Just do it already. All right, that's all I'm saying. Last thing here was a new mobile game announced in collaboration with DNA, who's been working a lot with Nintendo on, like, say, Dragalia Lost and I think the Fire Emblem game. They are working on a new Pokemon game called Pokemon Masters. It looked to have some sort of 3v3 PvP against all the trainers that you've encountered from all the Pokemon games.
Yeah.
And Brock had rock hard abs.
Yeah, as he always does, that sleepy boy. Basically, they said they'd be revealing more about that in June. So we'll be hearing more about that soon. And then just to go ahead and move on, Nintendo also announced that June 5th, there will be a Sword and Shield Direct. So all the information that you want about the new Switch games will be on that Wednesday, which I think is the day that we do an episode. So we'll be covering that in our E3 reactions episode as well. You guys still hyped for Sword and Shield?
Oh, I'm
Hell
very
yeah.
excited. Yeah.
Yeah.
My hype has grown since I talked about it last time I was here.
Yeah. I think it's looking pretty good. I'm really excited for this direct because I think there's still a lot more they can show about this game, and I hope hopefully they've been hiding quite a bit, so they have like
I love
more
to see
surprises.
the new Pokemon, so I'm
Yeah.
excited for the new gen. It's been a while since we got new Pokemon in Sword or Sun and Moon. So
Yeah.
and that was the last full gen we got.
It's interesting that Pokemon Home is coming in 2020, which is going to be after Sword and Shield comes out.
Yeah.
So it's like, are you going to even want to keep playing Sword and Shield at that point? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to even want to be bringing on your Pokemon back? It's
There's
like,
a ton of dedicated Pokemon people that will.
Sure.
That'll be.
I'm a little relieved, so I don't have like I might want to like start transferring over, the old stuff, and then it might just kind of ruin the game because I don't want to catch anything new.
right.
If you're still
Exciting.
listening to this, we got more news that ends the Pokemon
Yeah,
business
finally.
strategy announcement.
Finally. Oh my goodness gracious. That was quite a thing. It was like broadcast in multiple languages. It was very odd watching that with you boys.
was
I'm
very
going to say
weird.
that right now.
Some of the localization stuff was very strange.
Oh, I will say the one thing we didn't say, the Pokemon shirts that have been very popular in Japan that looked really nice. Those are coming to
Very,
North
very
America. So
cool
that's
looking.
exciting.
Very sleek and crisp.
Currently can't afford any of those shirts, but maybe one day when I'm nice and
I hope they're not too much.
They're
I'd
expensive.
love to
They're
get,
like,
a
they're over
Blastoise shirt
$100
or
bucks,
something.
I think. For
I
each
was
shirt,
like,
yeah.
I was just trying to decide how much I would spend. I was like, probably 50.
I think I heard somewhere in the ballpark of like $150.
because you
They
can
look like
customize.
nice- yeah, they look like
151.
nice
But
tailored
they're
shirts.
customizable, really nice dress shirts. I mean, it looks cool, and you can't really tell that they're Pokemon branded
Yeah,
unless you look really
exactly.
close.
Yeah.
You know, so
it looked like a Ralph Lauren design or
I
something.
think it's cool. But anyway, okay, we lied. Okay, there was that last bit of Pokemon news, but now we're moving on. Let's go ahead and move on to just a little bit more talking about some mobile related news. The beta for Mario Kart Tour dropped last week. Did any of you guys get on the beta, or was that just me?
I did not.
Nope.
Just you.
Yeah, so I did get in on this beta, and I've been testing over the past few weeks. I'm allowed to talk about it. Past week. I'm allowed to talk about it. You're just not allowed to share any photos or videos. That hasn't stopped anybody from doing that online. You can find tons of information about it. Have you guys heard about this game at this point?
Yeah, I would love to hear more about it from somebody who's played it.
It's odd. It's closer to Mario Kart than I expected it to be. First of all, let me just tell you, the game is played entirely vertically, and it's meant to be played with one hand, right? So you're basically playing by swiping your thumb left and right along the bottom to turn, and it has auto acceleration. Very similar to Mario Kart 8, how that kind of has auto acceleration turned on by default.
Yeah.
And that doesn't really bother me. And in fact, once I went in and kind of changed the settings a little bit on the racing to make it to where whenever I swiped, I did a drift, it became way more fun to me. And the drifting feels really natural using your finger, actually. I was pretty surprised. The problem here that a lot of people are going to find is that it's very much gotcha mechanics and very much freemium, free-to-play, pay-to-win sort of game mechanics, right? It's got a lot of loot boxes in it. There's like 3 different forms of currency. There's like all these different coupons and stuff that you get. And like, so it's, that stuff is pretty frustrating. And on top of all that, as far as at least the beta is concerned, it seems like you can't play against other people online and that it's only ever playing against bots. Yeah. And they do a weird thing where it's like they'll show names of other users that you're supposedly
like
playing
ghost
against.
users or
but yeah, but if
something.
you exit out of the game and then come back, you'll be exactly where you were.
Yeah.
You know, it's not really online.
Like how Forza does like drive-avatars and stuff like that.
Yeah, so-
like that.
I know it's kind of taken the wind out of a lot of people's sails in regards to this
Wow,
game.
big time, yeah.
I mean, I'm having fun with it. I don't know if this is a game that I would really stick with, but I'm not a big mobile game player anyway. After hearing this stuff, does this lessen or increase your hype level?
Big time lesson. I was hoping
Yeah.
there was going to be PvP in it.
Right.
That's what I would assume. That's what Mario Kart is known for.
definitely.
Yeah, exactly. Ever since the first game for the Super Nintendo, it's all about
Yeah, it's about
multiplayer.
shit talking with your friends.
Yeah,
Yeah. The Super Mario Kart for the Super Nintendo, the screen is split in half at all times. Like it definitely wants you to play multiplayer, right?
Yep.
So it's a little odd. I will say the saving grace of that game is they brought back a ton of old stages that aren't in Mario Kart 8,
Yeah.
right? So there's a
that's
bunch of cool GameCube stages. I think most of them were in Mario Kart 7. So it seems like they're probably, the way that they're doing this is kind of up-resing Mario Kart 7. I feel like that's the base game that they've been working on, right? So so that's interesting.
You can't pay for stuff in it now, right?
No,
In the beta?
during the beta, all payments are turned off.
So has that affected your gameplay with it at all? Like,
Well, I wouldn't
is
pay
it
for
hard?
anything anyway.
Yeah, but you
You
said,
know,
you
I'm
said
not
there's
about
loot
to-
boxes and stuff. You
Yeah,
said
I mean,
there's
there are loot
boxes
boxes.
and
The
stuff,
main
so-
problem when it comes to the payment stuff is that it has timer mechanics, right?
Yeah.
So it's like for instance, you'll like kind of grind to get the number of stars that you need to open a new circuit or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And then whenever you open the new circuit, it'll be like, cool, it's under construction for 55 minutes. And you like just can't play for an additional 55 minutes.
Oh.
And then if you run out of stamina, which is like hearts, another kind of form of currency, then you just can't race in any races.
locked
And you have to
out.
wait 15 minutes for each heart to come back, right?
So pretty
it's-
like standard microtransaction affair.
Exactly,
for
yeah.
other
So of course, then
smartphone
you can
games.
pay to bypass that and get the currency that you need to buy hearts and all that kind of
That's
jargon. right?
unfortunate.
That is
Yeah.
unfortunate.
So-
I wish
so-
they would have done like Super Mario Run or something where you could just pay.
Well, I mean, that was what they were talking about originally, right? Originally, they wanted to do something like that. That's what they started with their first app with, was a $10 game, and everybody shunned them, right? But then, Fire Emblem and Animal Crossing and all these other games have been making so much more money than they ever did with Mario Run that I think that scared them away from that model, which is kind of a shame. They're definitely going after the mobile crowd and not the core gaming market, right? But anyway, so that's our impressions of Mario Kart Tour. Probably don't pick it up.
Yeah. Speaking of got to go fast.
Nice.
The Sonic movie, they heard the fan outcries. We've talked about it on this podcast before. It got delayed to February 2020. The director put out a tweet about it.
Yeah, he put out
I
a
think
tweet
that's good.
with an image of Sonic in a glove, which he did not have in the original trailers. The date, Valentine's Day 2020, and then it said with the hashtag "No VFX artists were harmed in the making of this movie." So I think basically that was kind of coming at concerns that they were worried that a lot of these artists would be overworked changing the design in such a fast amount of time. What do you guys think about this delay?
I just want to say that I think this whole movie is a bit of a train wreck at this point.
Of course.
That's all.
I agree.
It does feel weird.
Yeah.
There's something off about it.
Yeah, about the whole process of everything. Well, I think it's putting it in the real world instead of setting it in the Sonic universe. It's just stupid. At least it'll be a fun Valentine's Day activity for all of us come this upcoming Valentine's Day.
Meow.
I'm gonna go see it regardless, but it's probably gonna be bad. Anyway, don't judge a book by its shitty Sonic art. All right, moving on. A little bit of interesting news. There is a VR experience coming out to the Switch soon that is called Spice and Wolf VR, and as far as I understand, it's like kind of an interactive VR anime. or maybe it's not so much interactive, it's kind of a passive experience, but you can look around in a 3D space at this kind of anime that's being crafted specifically for the Switch in Labo VR mode.
Yeah, it's coming in Labo VR mode. It's also releasing on other VR platforms, Oculus, all the other stuff that's out there.
Because so this is kind of like the first cross-platform VR game that's coming to Switch.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it seems like.
This is the first non-Nintendo game that supports Labo VR.
Yeah, so that's really interesting. And the reason we put this on the news docket this week was that when we had Chris Stockman in from BitPlanet Games.
Who made Ultra Wings.
Who made Ultra Wings, right. He came in and he was kind of upset that all the VR Labo stuff had dropped after they had come out, already announced their game for the Switch, right? And basically, whenever he found out about it, he reached out to Nintendo and they said that they weren't working with third-party developers for VR stuff. And now it seems like they are starting to, maybe because it's a Japanese company and it's like anime, they're kind of starting in Japan and maybe moving their way outward. But hopefully this opens the door for more VR content on Switch. I think that they would probably need a more dedicated headset for the Switch.
Agreed.
In order for this to really be something good, but maybe we'll get something announced at E3 about that. What do you guys think about that?
I just remembered that I really want Labo, and I might buy that later. But I kind of forgot it existed, and I was like, "Oh yeah, Labo, all those little cool things, right? Yeah." Fuck the eShop. I think I'm gonna just buy Labo.
Yeah, just from now on, just make your own games in Labo VR. Yeah, I'm into it. All right, cool. All right, well, that's interesting. We'll keep you guys updated if we hear more news about future VR projects for the Switch. There was an interview with the Tetris 99 developers, and they had a couple interesting nuggets about the development of that game, which was interesting because we hadn't really heard anything about who was actually making this game or what kind of went into it. We just knew that it was inside Nintendo. Some of the highlights, they basically said that they had a really short development time. It looks like originally they had other ways to target, including defensive maneuvers, but they removed them to speed up the game. They said that they were very purposeful about not including a tutorial to create player connections about how to play. I don't know how I feel about that. And then the last thing kind of from this interview was that they were hinting that more things are coming, but they didn't really say anything totally specific. Although, we've heard that it's going to be kind of more offline multiplayer, especially through some data mines and stuff like that. What do you guys think about that? Especially the bit about not including a tutorial, because I know that is something that really frustrated a lot of people when they started playing that game.
Yeah, it's especially like all the D-pad functionality. Like I didn't play a lot of Tetris 99. I know David, you did,
right?
But while I was playing, I wasn't sure how to target people.
Or with the right stick.
Oh, right stick. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's really confusing.
Yeah, and until like a buddy of mine, maybe it was you sitting next to me, telling me how to target people, or how to attack, or how to target no one.
Yeah, I learned everything about that game from a single post on Reddit with somebody who just like spent a shit ton of time figuring everything out. You know what I mean? So I don't know if that's really encouraging like player to player communication. I mean, I guess for us, it kind of worked out that way where it's like friends helping friends.
Yeah. I never really learned how to play.
Yeah. Well, I'll show you some. I mean, do you even like Tetris?
I do like Tetris.
Yeah.
It just always, I was kind of confused about the targeting stuff, like you said. And then after that, it just started and people were so good at it. I was like, I'm never going to win this.
Well, look, I'm level 50. I'll give you some tips. Okay.
Rob just rolled his eyes.
Yeah. Rob, he does not like Tetris. I will say that there is some merit to that idea. Like, for instance, like a game like Binding of Isaac is very much developed in that same way, right? Where they purposefully keep things ambiguous in the rule set in order to kind of like have that kind of old school, like, oh, which dungeon do you go to in Zelda? Like, how do I move this rock or all these little secret things, I get that they kind of have that idea. I just don't really know if it has a place in a Tetris game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, definitely.
Anyway, that's my hot take. Any other thoughts about Tetris 99? We good to move on? Let's get the hell on to the next topic. All right. Looks like we've got a couple E3 leaks coming in here pretty soon. Some pretty interesting ones too. There was a new cross-platform Ubisoft game leaked called Roller Champions. I expect we'll be seeing this at Ubisoft's E3 press conference. It looks pretty cool. It looks kind of like a roller derby style game that uses kind of like ball mechanics. So almost kind of like, did you guys see, we saw Alita Battle Angel together, right? Kind of like that Alita Battle Angel sport, the motor ball. Yeah, so it kind of looks a little bit like that, or almost like their take on Rocket League, maybe. So hopefully, I mean, looks to me, it screams free to play to me in this game, right? And like maybe something that you would like deck out your kind of outfit customization and stuff like that, as far as in-app purchases and stuff like that. So hopefully that happens. Did any of you guys have a chance to check out this game at all?
I didn't see the screenshots, but I saw kind of like the promotional art and stuff and the general idea that you described. Sounds cool. I'd love to see it, especially if it's free.
Yeah, speaking of another game that got a release date within the past couple of days is Killer Queen Black. It got announced at E3 last year. But it'll be coming out sometime this summer. There's a pre-order link on Best Buy. Warrior64 posted about it. But you get free skin.
Free skin for your Joy-Cons,
free
right?
skin for your Joy-Cons, yeah.
That's pretty interesting.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I'm excited about Killer Queen Black. David, you and I played it at South by Southwest a lot.
So much fun,
I think we played it for like a good 30, 35 minutes.
Yeah. I played it a little bit before that. But yeah, that was kind of the most time I spent with it. I'm really, really excited for this game. I think it's also coming to Xbox, but not PlayStation. I think, and PC, I guess. So that looks really great. Have any of you guys played this game at all?
Nope.
It's great. It's like kind of like a joust-like game. That's like at the arcades, it's 5v5, or is it 6v6?
I think it's 5v5.
Yeah,
and
it's like a 10-player multiplayer game.
Yeah, and the arcade cabinets are back-to-back. So one team is on one side and another team is on the other.
Yeah, and so they're bringing it to Switch. It looks like it's going to have online functionality as well. You can play against people online, so that looks like a lot of fun. Speaking of online, though, to just keep this segue train rolling, we have found a little bit of troubling news about Mario Maker 2 today. Basically this morning, a bunch of YouTubers and kind of Nintendo sites, news websites, basically had an embargo lift on an hour of gameplay that they got to spend with Mario Maker 2 in New York. And we're getting some things out that are a little troubling. Like, first of all, it was revealed today that you will not be able to play with your friends online in Mario Maker 2, only with randoms. Which is the most Nintendo shit I've ever heard in my entire life.
That's so weird. I didn't read that part.
Yeah, that was confirmed. So basically, there were reports about it from, I think, Nintendo Life or Nintendo Soup, and then Game Explain reached out to Nintendo to clarify, and they were like, "Yep, unfortunately, you can only play against random people online." And it's just like, what the fuck are you actually thinking?
Why?
What is the point? It's so strange. Like, I get something like FIFA. Because I'm not happy with FIFA, but it's like FIFA you can't play with your friends because they use all the other platforms' online matchmaking or lobby services to link up with your friends, and there's no such service on the Switch, right? So it's like, so I get a third-party company wouldn't want to add in a bunch of stuff, but Nintendo, a first-party company in their own game, not adding in friend ability onto an online thing.
That's crazy.
It makes zero sense.
You can do it in Smash Bros. I mean, there's other games that support it.
Exactly. Yeah, and when you're adding, especially when you're adding this feature in after the sequel didn't have it, to leave out a huge part like that is very unsettling.
So the first one had it?
No, the first one had no online
or multiplayer,
or it had online where you could download your friend's stages or whatever, but you couldn't play with people,
with more than one person.
Yeah, one person in a stage. Console. This one added it, and they added online, but it's only with random people, which seems so pointless, especially when you can't chat with them or you can't,
that's
anything.
Weird.
It just makes no sense.
Yeah, it seems weird because they spent a lot of time in the Mario Maker 2 Direct talking about online, and it looked really exciting. It feels like very hyped. Feels misleading.
They added online multiplayer to freaking the Virtual Console with Mario Brothers 3.
Exactly. With your friends.
So I was playing with David, and I was like, "Oh my god, this is insane! I love it." And then they're like, "Yeah, you like that? Well, don't get used to it because we're not doing it anymore."
Exactly. Very odd.
Wow, that's
so.
weird.
I mean, no. To be clear, you can still do local net play on your individual Switches if you're in the same area. Which, who cares? And then they also did clarify that you can play multiplayer for people on one console on the TV.
Well, that's good.
So that's at least local co-op is there for couch co-op, right?
Yeah.
So that's at least something. We weren't sure about that, and that was confirmed today. But yeah, the online thing just seems like a huge oversight. And then there was one other troubling bit of news about Mario Maker 2. None of these are game breaking. I'm still going to get the game. Still, it seems like a vast improvement over the last one. The last one didn't even have online, right? But one thing that they did drop from the first one is apparently no amiibo support in this game.
Wow.
So all the 200 NES skins that Mario could be seem to be completely missing from this game.
Yeah.
Wow, yeah.
So are we sure that there's just no amiibo support? Maybe you can like unlock them or something.
Apparently that's what they. Yeah, I mean that it might be that that's the case, but as far as like an official statement from Nintendo, they've basically said that amiibo support will not be in this game, which is very surprising to me because this seems like one of the only games where you would really want
Amiibo's dead.
You know what I mean? Yeah, and it kind of goes back to our episode that we did with you about the death of amiibo, right?
Yep.
It kind of feels like they're maybe starting to phase it out.
R.I.P.
Which is weird. They just re-released a new set of amiibo.
Yeah.
You can like pre-order
ones,
stuff on at retailers.
So this is going to send my E3 amiibo predictions into disarray. I'm going to have to.
Those things seem pretty successful. I mean, I never really liked the amiibos like from the start, but as soon as they'd put one out, it would just sell out immediately.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, they're working. And then they're just like, all right, this is stupid. Let's just stop. So, all right. Well, I feel bad for you, Jeremy. You have like a very good collection.
You would have had every fucking skin in the game.
I am honestly impressed by. And when I play games that kind of do work well with the amiibos, I'm like, let me go to Jeremy's and use his amiibos.
Right, exactly.
But wow, okay.
I mean, it makes sense in a way that the Toys to Life fad is definitely dying.
Yeah.
But Nintendo was kind of the one stalwart that stuck with it throughout all of this. So maybe we'll get an announcement of something to do with the amiibo skins at E3. I definitely would like to see them back. I think it kind of makes sense in that whenever you would want to have like a different character in it, you would have to make it in the original NES Mario style, right? So it kind of limited the kinds of levels that you would see online, because a lot of times they would want to do like a Zelda themed level or something, but it wouldn't show up in Mario 3 style or Super Mario World style, right?
That'd be the old one.
You know, so I can see kind of a little bit what they were thinking there, but it really is disappointing. But anyway, I'm still going to buy the game, but you know, Nintendo, it's not too late to patch some of this shit in. That's all I'll say. Multiplayer, dude. Think about it. That's really dumb. Anyway, this is a big one. It seems that The Witcher 3 was seemingly leaked from various Chinese retailers for the Switch, which is pretty cool. Witcher 3 Wild Hunt was a very successful game from about 2 or 3 years ago now, I think. Something like
The
that.
Witcher 3? That was like 5 years ago, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Was it 5 years ago?
The Wild Hunt was DLC. What? No, this is
Wine.
Blood and Wine.
Yeah, I think the game was called Wild Hunt, right? Yeah.
I think that the leak was that it'll be all of it, the Game of the Year one.
I would imagine so, yeah.
That would make sense. The Witcher Netflix series is coming out.
Yep.
Yeah.
Is it like early next year or this year?
I think it's supposed to be by the end of this year with Henry Cavill as Geralt. Yeah. So that's interesting. I mean, of course, take all this with a grain of salt. I guess this could have been fabricated, but there seemed to be quite a lot of corroborating evidence. A lot of these Chinese retailers are fairly large retailers that put this up, and with full images of the box art and all this information and stuff like that. So definitely that would have been an exciting announcement at E3, but spoiler alert, I guess. But maybe it's not true. But if so, I mean, maybe this might be the first time we see a 64 gig game cart. You know what I mean? Because, I mean, to fit all that on there, it's got to be massive.
Yeah, I'm a little skeptical about the announcement just because of that. So if they do really announce it at E3, I'll still be pretty hyped because that'll be pretty cool as long as it looks good and doesn't.
It'd be a great game to announce alongside a potential Switch revision. Maybe?
Definitely.
Like a Pro
Switch
console,
Pro.
something like that.
Yeah.
That could be interesting. Definitely would run the game better with like a Tegra X2 chip or something like that. That's been rumored to be in the Switch Pro.
Yeah.
So, of course, that Switch Pro, also speculative at this point.
Patrick's not here right now, but he has one show note. He says this will be the first game he's ever bought twice if Witcher 3 comes to the Switch.
All right, scrub. Get with the program. I've bought several games at least 4 times.
Oh, me too. I bought Chrono Trigger like 7 times.
I own so many downwells.
Yeah, what we're saying is fuck you, Patrick.
Yeah, fuck you, Patrick. Get off of your gaming sabbatical. All right, anyway, just a couple more pieces of news. These are pretty quick. Looks like Microsoft has announced that their press conference at E3 this year is going to be a whopping 2 hours long.
That's incredible. I'm hyped. I love E3.
Yeah,
I already
same.
scheduled time with my Halo buddies.
Yeah.
We have 2 hours to watch this E3 presentation. We're going to get Halo Infinity probably, maybe some new hardware stuff, but 2 hours when it's normally like maybe somewhere between 60 and 90 minutes.
I think last year was 90 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a full half hour longer than it was last. And last year already felt long. Like, I remember watching it last year. I was like, man, this is still going.
Yep.
Come on.
Especially because Nintendo keeps their directs fairly tight.
Yeah, short.
You know what I mean?
So like 30 minutes or less.
I wonder what new Forza car will be.
Well, they're supposed to have
stage.
hardware. They're supposed to have hardware announcement and stuff too. I think they're really
I think
doing
they
it
most
big.
certainly will be announcing their next generation of systems.
So I gotta ask, like, have you been a little disappointed with Microsoft this generation at all? I just find myself not really playing my Xbox at all.
Yeah, you know, it's weird. I have an Xbox sitting to the right of you right now.
Yep.
I play Halo 5 with my buddies. We play every Thursday.
Y'all still play?
Yeah.
Wow.
Almost every Thursday at like 8:30.
Yeah.
And it's something that we do to stay connected because I've been playing the Halo franchise since I was in high school.
Definitely. Yeah, same.
And it's still fast. Xbox Live, I mean, in my opinion, is the best. I
agree.
Like game online
really
service,
especially with the backwards compability of all the old games. That's
tight.
huge. Yeah.
That's really sweet. The Friends system has been a consistent experience.
Yeah.
Gamer score and gamer tags and all that kind of stuff have like kind of held throughout all the systems.
Definitely.
All of that, but it feels like I would probably rather buy a game if it's coming on an Xbox. I might buy it on another system.
Yeah. Or your PC.
Or a PC, exactly.
Yeah. Or, and the reason we kind of put it in the show notes this time, maybe the reason that they have all this extra time, in addition to hardware announcements and game announcements and maybe developer announcements, because they're starting to get in-house developers now, maybe we're going to be seeing more stuff about this xCloud and Xbox Gamer Pass on multiple platforms.
Yeah. Yep.
I think there's been so much smoke around
Master Chief
Ori of the
Collection,
Blind Forest
Switch.
coming, maybe Master Collection coming to Switch, Xbox Game Pass coming to Switch. I think that we might be seeing Switch announcements at this Microsoft event.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that would be pretty exciting, and I think it would definitely at least justify some of the longer length.
Yep.
Would you get a Gamer Pass or Game Pass, excuse me, if it came to Switch, Rob?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
That still blows my mind. What?
Yeah.
Let's just do a partnership and act like this has always happened before. And I'm never in my wildest dreams that I think I see Xbox stuff on my Switch
It's
or anywhere
super bizarre.
like that. Yeah,
Let's get that rare
pretty
replay
excited.
on Nintendo Switch.
Yep.
Rare replay on the Switch
Full
would be
circle.
so nice.
The what?
Oh my
Full
god, rare replay. It's like all the old classic Rare games that were ported to Xbox.
Banjo-Kazooie, Banjo-Tooie.
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Conker's Bad Fur Day.
I think
Blast
Jet Force
Corps.
Gemini was in
Jet
there.
Force Gemini.
Yeah. So stuff like that would be great to have on the Switch.
The 64 game.
Yeah. So we'll keep our eye out. I mean, definitely Microsoft seems to be moving into this post kind of just first party world. So hopefully we get some announcements about that. And it looks like I'm going to leave this one to you, Matt.
Oh boy. Get ready. I hope you're sitting down wherever you're listening to this or you're driving. Pull over to the side because, my friends, we got one screenshot of town.
We got a town screenshot.
We got a
baby.
town screenshot. It kind of came out of nowhere.
I don't even know what channel it was released on. I only saw the news article.
I don't know either.
It's like a Famitsu article, I think.
Oh,
was
yeah,
it?
you're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Japanese magazine. And I'm not sure I get it. It's an RPG, but there are a lot of UI elements on the screen.
A lot of weird stuff going on the screen.
It feels like a Xenoblade game because there's lots of stuff and lots of prompts and
It's like
lots
turn-based
of attacks.
RPG type.
Yeah, turn-based stuff. I don't know, but I'm stoked that we got a little
It looked
bit.
awesome. Yeah, it looked really cool.
The thing that stood out to me most was that how different it looks from Pokemon, right? And this is kind of Game Freak's first departure from Pokemon in a very long time.
Yeah.
So that's exciting. I can't say this news blew my socks off, but I definitely thought of you as soon as I saw it.
I got my citizenship in town, so I'm ready to go.
You have your town passport ready to go.
That's right.
That'll be exciting. All right, well, yeah, let's go ahead and move on.
Yeah, that does it for the news. So let's start talking about 3DS. Postmortem or RIP 3DS?
RIP 3DS. It seems like the 3DS is on its way out. I don't know that there are any new games announced for the 3DS. Have they all come out at this
Pour
point?
one out for the 3DS.
Yeah, well, this is hardwood, so.
Yeah, be careful.
But yeah, I guess just a little bit of a breakdown. Nintendo 3DS was announced in March 2010. It was unveiled at E3 2010, released worldwide March 2011. And a lot of that kind of early stuff, there was a lot of troubles at the beginning of the 3DS's release. I'm just going to kind of read through Patrick's notes here. It's still sort of kicking today, even though it's seeming that support is almost dried up. It was a successor, obviously, to the Nintendo DS with the dual screen device. This came out in November 2004 in the US. A lot of the unique things about the DS and the 3DS are the dual screens, and obviously the 3D with the 3DS, the no glasses 3D.
Yeah, we have to think about this time in 2011. 3D TVs were huge.
Yeah. Avatar had come out recently.
Right, Avatar. Right, exactly.
Yeah.
There was 3D DVDs.
Time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's when that was all the rage. That was all the tech rage.
I remember when the system came out, I believe it was priced at something
$250.
It was $250.
$250.
That's it for that original model 3DS as well,
I
which
bought
is not
one.
great. You did.
I did.
Okay, cool. So I want to talk about that, right? So they had it out for, I think it was about 6 months at that price point, and it sold really, really poorly because it was just way too expensive. DS, like the DSi was out, and it was way, way cheaper at the time, and seemingly pretty powerful. I had a robust eShop. And then basically not a lot of people were buying it. And then they announced pretty quickly that there would be a massive $70 price drop down to $170. Or I guess that's an $80 price drop.
Yeah, I think it was $80.
Yeah. And in order to kind of assuage some of the, fears of the people that had gotten in, also known as the ambassadors for the program, they did the ambassador program. Do you want to explain some of that, Jeremy?
Yeah, it was basically like 20 free SNES games that you got for the 3DS. Kind of like virtual console games for the 3DS.
Well, I think it was NES and Game Boy Advance, right?
Or yeah, it was Game Boy Advance games too. Well, I think some SNES games were on it too.
I thought it was NES and then GBA because
sure
there were some
SNES
there were
games, too.
SNES ports. There was like Super Mario World for Game Boy Advance or whatever and stuff like that. So I think it was kind of like those. Yeah. But I know they had like Minish Cap and Metroid Fusion and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
this was a way to
games,
thank early adopters of the 3DS,
right?
To say we know what you did. You paid more money for it. Here's some free games.
So what I did was I went to a Walmart like the day before the ambassador program was done, and I bought an original 3DS price matched to the new price, but still got all the ambassador games.
Wow.
I felt really smart about that.
I remember when you got that and you did talk about it for a while. Like I just like totally played the system.
Nice.
You did though. I was like, that's pretty cool. But
that's right. I'm all about pinching them pennies, dog.
Yeah. I mean, $80 for all those games. That's kind of a high price.
It's a crazy deal, and it's like this was in the time of Satoru Iwata leading Nintendo, right? Yeah. This is the same guy who, whenever the 3DS didn't do well, he cut his own pay in half so he wouldn't have to fire people, right, at the bottom. And so it's a very Iwata thing to do, right, and very consumer-facing thing to do, to like give this to all these people and then cut the price quite a bit. But after that, sales skyrocketed, right? It became a huge seller. The DS line has sold, like 150 million, almost 200 million units, something like that. I don't know if we actually have.
I think it's the best-selling handheld like device ever.
Yeah, or at least the DS line in total, right? So that was a crazy time, and Nintendo basically started having a huge resurgence of tons and tons of games coming out for the 3DS. All of a sudden, all the people that were kind of wary about it whenever the price dropped all came back and started developing their games for the system. So I guess here, I'd kind of like to maybe just kind of open it up, have a little bit of a roundtable, and maybe talk about some of the things that the 3DS got right. Do you guys have anything you want to add? Not necessarily the talking points here, but anything that you think really worked well about the 3DS as a system?
I'm sure we'll get to them, but I really liked all the ports and stuff that they did. I think that they did a really great job porting 3D or N64 games. Mm-hmm. And going through the show notes, I was reminded that they did a lot of Wii U ports too, like with like Hyrule Warriors and stuff like that in the Xenoblade game.
That's right. Yeah, they did that. The Xenoblade Chronicles, they also ported from the Wii Donkey Kong Country Returns.
Oh yeah, Donkey Kong Country Returns.
And more recently, Kirby's Epic Yarn was ported to the 3DS.
I think pretty much all of those were pretty well received, and the ones that I played were some of my favorite games. So
right.
Yeah, shout out to the
that was pretty cool. Like Star Fox 64, the Zelda,
both the Zelda,
Ocarina of Time, Majora's Mask,
and Ocarina of Time. Yeah.
So they did that really well.
I remember that E3 when they announced Majora's Mask.
Yep.
It was super hype because Majora's Mask kind of sit in the background of Nintendo's catalog for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
and then they re-released it. Yeah,
when that happened, I was like, woohoo, portable. And they did a great job like adding a little bit of stuff too.
Well, that's a game that was developed in under a year, so they had time to now like go back and put the polish on it that it really needed, right? Did you play that 3DS port of Majora's Mask?
No, I never did.
Yeah, I did. It played really, really well. I mean, there are definitely some things that people didn't like about it. They changed some things that the hardcore fans of the original game didn't like.
I think this is something that I appreciate that Nintendo does really well. Is if they're going to port, they're not just going to do something that like Square Enix sometimes does. They're just going to port the regular game in order to make
Pokken
money.
Tournament would like a word with you.
Yeah, what's that?
Pokken Tournament would like a word with you.
Well,
Yeah,
even that
yeah,
got the DLC.
exactly.
and
I guess you're
Pokken?
right. Yeah.
Pokken.
Pokken. Pepe. I think another thing they got right, other than just straight ports designed for the game or designed for the system, it was great with backwards compatibility, right? It could play all the DS games. Unfortunately, you couldn't play Game Boy Advance games like you could on the DS. But yeah, you had a whole library of just seemingly thousands of DS games that were out there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And the Virtual Console too, right? There was it was pretty robust.
That's right. And the
robust
Virtual
for
Console
3DS,
came. I guess that was they ported SNES games to
Yeah.
it, to the Virtual Console, old Game Boy games.
Yeah.
Man, that was a good time.
Brought like Red and Blue back or something like that.
Yeah, they did. And they made a huge deal about it when they came to the eShop as well.
Yeah, I got like Red and played it for like 5 minutes, and I was like, "Wait, what am I doing?" Like, so old. Yeah, it's super old. I am kind of excited, but also no.
You'd rather play Leaf Green at that
Or
point.
Let's Go.
Yeah, I was like, I would have honestly rather played that because I never played the newer ones, but I would have actually liked to have played it then, like
Right.
a year ago or whatever.
Right, I agree. Some of the stuff that they did pretty well, I thought, was apart from just like the large library of games that you could get for it, was a lot of affordable pricing options. That was definitely something that they were like, we're trying to get kids, you know what I mean? That might not have a lot of, I could afford it that better. But
We need all those kids.
but it's like, you know, like, so they developed the 2DS, right? That didn't have a hinge, so it was a lot harder to break, and it was like $80.
Yep.
And they usually come with a game.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like
crazy that the price went from like 80 to 200. Over the course of-
right? It was really crazy.
You can like drop the 2DS and
Yeah.
it would like be perfect.
Like,
You
It's
can run that
just
shit over with a steamroller, dude. Like, yeah, that thing would not be destroyed. If that was in the Gulf War, that would have won the war. I'll tell you what. That's a little bit of Game Boy jokes.
It's
for
little
you.
golf war facts.
Any other things that you think the 3DS did right?
Yeah, I want to give another shout out to the 3D camera on the 3DS.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
A lot of very obscure pictures taken with that. You know, probably didn't get a ton of use for most people, but I think that the ones taken, you know, they'll be remembered.
You could watch 3D porn on the 3DS too, because there was a browser.
Shout out to 3D porn.
Yeah.
Interesting.
That's a real thing.
I had a Evo 3D, that phone,
Yeah, I remember when you had
for
that.
like 2 years or so. So when I got the 3DS, I was like, oh yeah, I'm going to use that because I was using another one, but no, I didn't really ever use it. But it was a gimmick, but it was like, hey, we're trying something different. Like, I do like innovation, trying different things,
Sure.
trying to change up the game. That's the two screens, like the dual screen thing. When it first came out, I was like, why? But quickly I realized, oh no, this is awesome. Like, way more information. As new games came out, they kept coming up with ways to use it, and I was like, I love this. Oh, when Isaac came out, it was just like, oh, I love it. The map's always here.
Right.
I love
Yeah.
that.
For sure.
Yeah.
And it's like, and that reminds me too, with the 3D, like they had a channel where they would just release 3D videos that you could watch. It would be like Red Bull would put out like a 3D video that you could watch on your 3DS,
Yeah.
you know, and it kind of makes me pine for that time, right? When we're in the era of the Switch, you know, the Switch UI is very streamlined. It's very quick,
Yeah, they don't
but
have any of that
it's
stuff.
not feature rich like the 3DS was, you know, there's tons, there were themes, there was, folders and all the stuff that we've been wanting on Switch for so long.
Yeah.
You know, and like that nice music that would be on the home screen, all the kind of playful Nintendo quality of stuff that was kind of around in the Iwata era
like
of
the Wii U
Nintendo.
I always figured they just stripped all that away just to save the battery as much as possible.
Yeah,
They were just
don't
like,
disagree.
take all of it out. They just, people are going to want this battery to last, and that's what we don't want people to be bitching about the battery. So just take it all out.
Well, they're moving from like a 240p screen to a 720p screen. You know, obviously it's going to be a lot more
Lot to
power
make up.
consumption. But one last thing I liked about the 3DS was they brought Miitomo to the 3DS. Wait, no, not Miitomo. Miiverse. They brought Miiverse to the 3DS, which I miss Miiverse all the time. Like
that's
Miiverse
dead,
was
right?
really it's been dead. Yeah, they killed it off a while ago. They actually there have been people that have archived almost all of Miiverse. Like it was like a fan effort to like archive Miiverse. So if you guys are ever interested in reading some of that old shit, it all exists somewhere.
That's pretty cool. I
online.
didn't realize that.
Yeah, I think it's like Archiveverse or something like that.
Can you still add to it?
No. But it's all there for you to view if you want to. So
can add to
that's
the
interesting. But let's go ahead and move on to things that the 3DS maybe didn't do so well or that they got wrong. And maybe stuff that Nintendo learned from the 3DS. I've got a few on here. Obviously pricing at the beginning was very poor. and they kind of learned their lesson there really quick as far as having alternative pricing options available for people that can't afford something like that. Something that I think they're struggling with a little bit right now with the Switch. I mean, not that the Switch is necessarily struggling, but I think that's maybe what they're trying to get back to with maybe a Switch Mini revision.
Spur up some sales again.
That's right.
With some sort of price drop type thing.
What did they do wrong? Well, I think they kind of killed their own console with the Switch. I was like, at the moment the Switch came out, I was like, I am done with the 3DS.
Sure.
Like, I'm never touching it again.
Yeah.
It's sitting somewhere collecting dust.
Yeah, well, we'll come back to that on reasons to play the 3DS today, but yeah, I mean that coming out, definitely them merging their kind of home console and handheld pillars into one kind of defeated the purpose of it.
I'm totally okay with that. I was ready to say goodbye to the 3DS, but it just seems weird of like the separate console game, like. Nintendo just dominated that for so long, and they're just, you know what? Let's just combine them together and just do that.
Yeah,
like,
it's a little odd.
I think that they kind of did a good job of waiting a little bit just to make sure that the Switch was actually going to be successful before they really did put the final nail in the coffin. Because they had a few good games that came out after the Switch did, like WarioWare and stuff like that.
They definitely waited, but
I
was personally just not waiting. I was like, no, it's dead to me. I'm not. I
was surprised at how long they actually supported the 3DS.
Yeah, I think they wanted to make sure Switch wasn't going to be a flop like the Wii U. You know?
Yeah, it was kind of bittersweet when I saw the E3 announcement was like Switch only. Yeah, you know what I mean? It was like, oh, I guess it is dead. You know,
good.
Because really, I mean, looking back on it in preparing for this episode, like there are quite a few good memories on it.
Yeah.
Did you have something you wanted to add?
I was going to say, speaking of good memories, we posed this question: what do people think about the 3DS on our Switch Heads community on our Facebook page? And I'll just go through some of the comments. Amir says that it was his dedicated Fire Emblem Pokemon machine.
Yeah. A lot of people used it for that. I definitely played Awakening.
A few other people were like Animal Crossing. Amanda says Animal Crossing, and she loves Animal Crossing. She talks about it. She posts memes about Animal Crossing all the time.
Yeah. I think she wrote that she would just play it every night before she went to bed.
Yeah, it was part of my 14-step Korean skincare regimen.
Any other interesting comments from there?
No, just like a lot of love for Super Mario 3D Land and like the use of its 3D technology on the screen. And then also, lots of loves for backward compatibility from Rocco and Lubu. Let's WarioWare.
Right, yeah. And we'll get to a couple of those games here in just a second. I think a couple of the things that they kind of didn't quite stick the landing on, really the 3D for the most part ended up being a gimmick. So much so that the new 2DS that came out, and which we'll also get to here, did away with it entirely, right? The main kind of caveat of the system, and so I think that there were a few games that did it well, but I think for the most part, most people had it on for a second and then just turned it off for the majority of the time. Did you guys ever play a lot in 3D mode?
I would switch it on anytime I saw something cool happening. I was like, ooh, I want to see this looks like in 3D. But then once that was passed, it was like, oh, okay.
Pretty much me too.
If you left it on for like more than 20 minutes, you get kind of a headache. Your eyes would start to hurt. But I definitely didn't leave it off throughout the whole game. There were plenty of times where I was like, no, I want to see this in 3D.
Sure.
And not every game got it right, but the best games did.
I think most of the games later in the generation just totally scrapped it.
I think it had more to do with we figured out 3D without glasses. That's a huge deal, more than just 3D being on the game. It was just more, look what we can do.
Something to like get the people at like CES or whatever interested in it. It's like kind of new technology. Yeah. So that ended up being kind of a gimmick. The resolution was really low, right? So a lot of these games that were ported, like say Xenoblade Chronicles, like playing that on a 3DS, I feel like had to be really difficult, because you could just barely see the UI in the normal game, right? For the Wii, right? So having it on like a 240p screen made it really difficult to see a lot of that.
Yeah, and on that note, something that was really weird that started fragmenting the 3DS line was Xenoblade Chronicles port could only be played on the new Nintendo 3DS.
Exactly, yeah. And that was actually the next line here is that we had brand confusion with a lot of the console redesigns.
Yeah, that's pretty silly. Too many redesigns.
Yeah.
It was getting nuts. I feel like, I bought a 3DS, and then like 2 months later, the new 3DS came out.
Yeah,
so I had to go sell that one.
Let's list them real quick. So there was the OG 3DS, then there was the 3DS XL, then there was the 2DS, and then the new 3DS, and then the new 3DS XL, and then a new 2DS and a new 2DS XL. Is that correct?
I think that's right.
Is there seven?
I think there's
3DS?
7 3DS redesigns.
I think those last two were unnecessary.
Well, I mean, I get it. It's like a cheaper option to have the the bigger processor on the new 3DS. But I can just imagine like a GameStop employee's like dread in trying to deal with people being like, "Can I have the new 3DS?" And they're like, "Okay, well, do you want the 3DS XL or the new 3DS or the new 3DS XL or the new 2DS?" Or,
Well,
you know what I mean? It's like,
can you tell me the difference between all 7 models?
could I?
Yeah, I'm just saying to the GameStop employee.
I mean, hopefully that's that's part of their job description. But I think that fragmentation like helped. Obviously, I think it helped with sales, but it made it really confusing for like kind of the average consumer.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that's definitely a lesson that they've taken with the Switch in trying to consolidate everything into mainly one thing. Although who knows?
Yeah, who knows?
Maybe
where
by the
they'll
end of
go
this
from
year,
here.
we'll be singing a different tune.
Yep.
But so those are some of the downfalls. I mean, ultimately though, I think the 3DS was one hell of a system with a great library, right?
Yep.
And let's see. I guess we talked about revision. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on. Like
I was gonna
talking
say
about that library.
Yeah, something about the library. Austin Young talks about this in the community post. When he talks about Kid Icarus Uprising. We get a new Kid Icarus game, an IP that we haven't seen in such a long time.
Mm-hmm.
A new art style. I guess maybe was Kid Icarus in Brawl.
Pit.
Well, Pit.
Yeah, Pit was in Brawl.
Pit, yeah, so he uses that same art style.
And that was a Sakurai developed game as well.
Yeah, exactly. So we have a new entrance into that new franchise, which is super exciting.
Yeah, I'd love to see a port of that for Switch.
Yeah.
That'd be super sweet.
What were some of y'all's favorite games for the 3DS? Anybody want to start? Like some of your favorite games for the system?
Yeah, I'll go first. I mean, I'll talk about Xenoblade Chronicles all day long.
Sure.
I can't wait till we get a Switch port for Xenoblade Chronicles, the first one.
The first one.
Because
So did you play it on new 3DS?
I played it on new 3DS. Yes, absolutely. I won a new 3DS at a work contest.
Oh,
once.
cool.
Nice.
Very nice.
Did I
Was it
play-
were the smaller ones or the XL?
I think it was the smaller ones.
So did it have like the interchangeable faceplates and stuff? Like that?
Yeah, it was the Galaxy edition.
Okay, cool.
And that was
sexy.
really cool. And I played it for 2 games, Xenoblade Chronicles, actually 3 games, Samus Returns, and what's the other one that I have written down here?
Link Between Worlds.
Link Between Worlds. Thank
Yeah.
you, David.
Yeah.
The game was very fun.
Yeah, great game. Yeah.
Incredible game. Yeah.
Out of those 3, like which one did you have the most play with?
Link Between Worlds, man.
Yeah, yeah.
It's so good.
Yes.
That was a fun game. That was like a kind of a direct sequel to A Link to the Past.
Yeah.
Right? Which I don't think they've really done that. I guess Majora's Mask is a sequel to
The
Ocarina
sequel
of
to
Time.
Ocarina, yeah.
But that was pretty exciting. It was like the same map
world
from
and
for the
stuff.
Super Nintendo game.
Such a great game. Such cool use of the 3D.
Yeah.
Yeah, how so? Can you expand on that a little
Like
bit?
how you go into the wall from 2D to 3D, and they just kind of shift perspective around in pretty interesting ways. And then they make a lot of use of the 2D platforming and stuff when you're going side to side on the the platforming parts of it.
Yeah, I enjoyed that game as
3D
well.
world,
Actually, that game was stolen. It was inside my 3DS when my 3DS got stolen from a party at my house. It's a
Someone
sad
stole your
story.
3DS
And
3DS and
they
your
they
house.
stole my 3DS and my Vita at the same time. Yeah, that was a bummer.
I
ended
left
up
my
buying
3DS on
both again.
an airplane one time, and I can't. I'm one thing I'm excited about for the Switch is that I can kind of get back my games now, even if I lose them.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I did because I had bought most, like the only game that was stolen was the game that was in the console, and the rest of the
I see.
games I had on there were
Or
digital.
digital, yeah.
And then I had a lot of them still left
I
over.
just kind of
but-
started doing digital Switch. So
yeah,
woe
I
is
do all
me.
digital now. Yeah, so that was kind of a wake up call for me, right? And the PS Vita, I was exclusively digital, so I was able to get all those games back.
Rob, how about you? What about 3DS library games?
It's probably always going to be Pokemon. Like when I was a kid, I thought the only game for Game Boy for a while was Pokemon. I didn't care.
That's
about
the
anything
power
else.
of the franchise.
Yeah, it was like yellow, blue, gold, and I was like, now what? I don't know if anything else. But then, Link Between Worlds, definitely loved that game. When Isaac came out, I went ahead and bought it on 3DS because that was
That's
like
the
a whole
Binding of
other-
Isaac you're talking about.
Yeah, Binding of Isaac. It was pretty good. But yeah, what was like the one that came out? I think it was like Alpha Sapphire.
Alpha Sapphire.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that. I don't know. It's just the 3DS was like the end of my love for Game Boy. Like, I played way more Game Boy Color and then the DS, but then 3DS, I got it, but I was playing a lot less of it. So
Right,
it's like,
right, right.
I was like, I definitely loved it. It's just my hype went down throughout the years. That's why I'm kind of glad it's gone now because I was ready to move on to the hybrid console / handheld system.
Right, right. And I honestly think it was a good move for them to combine both of these pillars.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, me too.
And it, I
Definitely
mean,
worked.
it's, and we'll get to that in a second because we kind of talk about the legacy of the 3DS here. But I'll go through some of mine. I wrote down a few. More recently, WarioWare Gold came out. That was kind of a best of like all the best WarioWare games, including Twisted. It used the gyrometer and the gyrometer. Gyroscope.
Yeah,
Gyroscope.
like from Twisted.
Yes.
Yeah, the Game Boy Advance one.
Yeah, except from WarioWare Twisted. That was really fun. There was a great collection of all the Bit Trip games called Bit Trip Saga. It was like all 6 Bit Trip games, those indie games that came out on cartridge on the 3DS. I played the shit out of that. I love rhythm games, so that was always really exciting for me. Rhythm Heaven was a great 3DS game as well. I would say Super Mario 3D Land was definitely the best use of 3D on the system.
Yep.
And it led the way for Super Mario 3D World. But that was a game where it was like, there were levels you just couldn't play without the 3D turned on, right? But it used it really well because you're looking above and you're seeing these platforms approach you. And it was actually like, oh man, I wish more games were using something like this, right?
Yeah, I love that game.
I love that game. Mario Kart 7 was the best Mario Kart ever made until Mario Kart 8 came out.
Yep.
I played the shit out of that game.
Yep.
And that was a fun game too, because that was the first time that actually a Western developer helped with a Mario Kart game. Retro Studios, right here in Austin, Texas.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Designed a lot of the levels in that game.
I didn't know that.
Yep,
Cool.
they sure did. You know, Retro's fingerprint is all over that game and all over the new Mario Kart. Really hope Star Fox Grand Prix is actually a thing, guys. Come on. Don't fuck me over on this one.
Come on, Retro.
And then we already talked about it a little bit, but the Zelda N64 ports were fantastic on the 3DS. They did a great job of making the graphics better, but making it feel like how you remembered the game actually was.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It was like everything looked better, but it still hit that nostalgia exactly where it was, right? And then one last thing I didn't put on here was Flipnote. I don't know if you guys ever played that game. It was a free game that they put on the 3DS. It was just a little animation studio where you could animate single cells, like cell by cell of these animations and share them online. I think that somebody was like harassing children with like sexual imagery on Flipnote, so they eventually shut it down. But while it was out, it was tight.
That sounds about right.
Flipnote Studio 3D was a really cool game. It was kind of like the what was the DS? It was like a PictoChat kind of successor
like
in a way.
PictoChat, yeah.
You know what I mean? So yeah, those are some of my favorite 3DS games. What about you?
So first, probably my favorite one or most played besides Link Between Worlds would be Monster Hunter 4U.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I love Monster Hunter 4U. It was one of the first Monster Hunter game I ever played. Shout out to my friends in Katie, Anthony, and Clay, who we used to play that game all night. That was a ton of fun, and I still play Monster Hunter with Generations and the new PS4 one too. So
Generations was also a 3DS game.
yeah,
correct?
Generations was a 3DS one too, and they released it for Switch. Also, they had the Switch port.
I'd love to see more straight 3DS ports for Switch, just up-res,
Yep.
Yeah,
That was really cool. I really played the Switch port of Generations as well. So shout out to Monster Hunter 4U. And then I also really enjoyed Animal Crossing New Leaf. Put a lot of time into that before my
That's
3DS
got to be
got
the best
stolen.
Animal Crossing game yet, right?
I mean, it was incredible. It was really just so easy to pick up and play and just mess around with and have a good time.
And that's where we got Isabel from.
Yep.
Best dog,
Best
Isabel.
dog, best
All right,
hair.
I'm just gonna ask, what do you actually do in Animal Crossing?
Jeremy?
You build. You just cultivate. You cultivate.
You're the goddamn mayor of a goddamn town.
All right, no, I know the love for the game is real.
Do you like cultivating?
No. So it's just like Farmville, but not on Facebook.
Oh yeah, there's a lot more to it than Farmville, right?
Yeah, I mean, you get along with the townspeople too, and you develop relationships and stuff. Rob's face right now is.
I mean, it's hard. Sometimes it's hard pressed to really call a game like that a game, right? It's almost more of like an experience.
Yeah,
And
I mean, it's chill. It's very chill.
and don't sleep on it, man, because like Animal Crossing for the 3DS sold systems. Like the casual market eats up that game. You know what I mean? And it's like and Animal Crossing for Switch is going to sell Switches too.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's one of the biggest sellers on the system.
Yeah.
Ultimately, I didn't put in as much time into New Leaf as I thought I would. It didn't really grab me quite as much as I thought it would.
Yeah.
So much so that I'm not even really sure that I'm going to pick it up for Switch, but I'm probably going to give it another try, see if I can get into it again. But I got to say, I love KK Slider. I love his music.
Yep, can't go wrong with that. Yeah,
He's one hell of a guitarist.
Yo, that is a banger.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
DJ KK, Google it. It's my favorite KK Slider song. Any other games you like?
Just a few more. Mario and Luigi Dream Team. Really like how you can flip the DS over. Thought that they made a great.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Thought that was a really cool use of the 3DS technologies and stuff. Shin Megami Tensei Devil Survivor Overclocked. Spent a lot of time with that game.
Is that a real game?
Yes.
I think you're making up words.
That's one of the many Shin Megami Tensei games on 3DS. I particularly enjoyed that game.
No, those are connected to the Persona universe.
They are Persona games.
Right,
Yeah,
right,
they're
right.
like Persona spin-offs, basically.
I know there's a new Shin Megami Tensei coming to Switch as well.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. They
that
kind
what-
of dropped the Persona moniker now since it's kind of split off into its own thing. And then Kingdom Hearts 3D, Dream Drop Distance. was awesome.
Right. Did you play that one?
That game was awesome.
Not on 3DS. I played on PS4, and it is a lot better on PS4.
It kind of is, but it was really good on the 3DS.
No touchscreen. If y'all enjoy the touchscreen, I'm sorry, but
the touchscreen was a pretty innovative way to play. I think. It was kind of like Kid Icarus in that way. Like it kind of made some interesting use of touchscreen controls. It was clawy though. And then last one, Smash Bros. Because it was pretty cool to have the first generation of Smash Bros. Handheld.
I liked that as well. I played that a ton until the Wii U one came out, and then I stopped playing it altogether.
Exactly.
I wish there was a way to keep me playing on the 3DS, but it just didn't happen.
I think the first time I played Smash Bros, like portable Smash Bros, blew my mind.
Yeah, same.
Like I was on a road trip with my buddy. He was like, "Here, you want to play Smash?" I was like, "Oh my god, you're right. I can play Smash in a car with my friends."
It was crazy.
I never tried playing it in a car. Okay. I just played it at home, and I was like, this flat joystick. Oh, boy.
See, that's why Smash now is nice portably, because you have an actual thumbstick.
Exactly. That's why I was like, now I love it on the Switch, but I'm like, as soon as it came out on Wii U, I was like, I'm done with this. I think I sold it a few months later, because I was just like, there's other games for 3DS I really want to play, and this just isn't doing it for me. So
Sure. A couple other shout outs, Star Fox 64 3D.
Definitely.
It's fantastic.
So easy to
ahead
pick
of
up
its
and play.
time, too. That game, like, not only had voice chat integrated into the game, just
the online
using the
multiplayer,
microphone on it with your friends, you could play online. But not only did it have voice chat, it had video chat.
Yep.
It would take a video of you and put your video of your face over
crazy.
your ship in multiplayer. Like,
my God.
it's insane. It's like now in an era of Switch where like we're missing so many online features.
What is the Switch having such an issue with?
Exactly.
3D.
Yeah, it's so bizarre. Well, I mean, one of the main things is that, the 3DS had that microphone built in. That's something that I really wish was on the Switch. I wish we had cameras on the back of the Switch. You know what I mean? Like the 3DS and DS had, or the DSi rather.
Well,
but it's like stuff like that. Stuff like that really enhances, I think, the gameplay elements, right? So stuff like that was a great game. There were just so many great games to really talk about.
One last one, Metroid Prime Federation Force.
So you like that game, or are you joking?
I've never even
The
heard of
Metroid
that.
Prime game everybody wanted. What was that Zelda? Triforce Heroes.
Okay, so that one I actually had on my list as a game I would really like to play if I had to pick one game that I didn't get to.
Really?
Yeah.
But that one you kind of had to have two friends. that owned
Exactly.
it
So
as
if
well.
I could ever pick it up cheap or something, I'd love to play it.
Yeah. That'd be interesting to see. I think that Nintendo has a huge opportunity in bringing a lot of these games to the Switch. I think the Switch has brought a lot of gamers out that never owned a 3DS. I think a lot of the people that owned the 3DS were kids, and now that there's all these kind of adult 30-something gamers that are like getting back into video games, I think it's a great opportunity to bring, like, say, Samus Returns to Switch. Like that would be fucking fantastic.
Yeah, that game was really good.
Epic Yarn even. Like, bring some of these games that you ported from the Wii over to a 240p screen, bring it back over to HD, I think it deserves it, because those games, even Xenoblade Chronicles had great art design, so it's stuff like that I'd like to see ported over.
Yeah, I was going to say, thinking about ending the segment as we talk about the 3DS and discuss the legacy of the 3DS, and we are seeing consolidation of probably 3DS developers and Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
Are there going to be IPs or franchises that we're not going to see a lot when we only have the Nintendo Switch? We only have one console.
That's a good question, and kind of a scary thought.
Yeah,
in a
this
way.
is a question from Austin Young. Shout out to Austin, who's been on the podcast before in the Switch Heads community.
Yeah, and he also in that was talking about kind of like bringing some of these franchises that were big on the 3DS over to the Switch might prove a little difficult, because they were kind of designed for a dual screen, touch screen experience, right? So like we see stuff like the port of The World Ends With You that came to Switch, which is basically just a port of the iOS port, right? And it's like, and a lot of people are like, man, this game sucks to play with my finger covering the whole screen. You know what I mean? Or even like, the Wii U felt like they were almost trying to do 3DS at home, where it was like you had the one screen that's in your hand and then the one screen
And
on
you
the
could
TV.
do 2DS emulation or DS emulation on the Wii U too. So.
Yeah, so what previously handheld exclusive IP series featured on the 3DS do you hope survive the melding of the handheld home console melding? Anybody?
I would say I'm thinking like the Professor Layton games.
Okay. Yeah.
I would love to see more of those. I think we got like maybe 2 or 3
I
of
think there's a
those.
few on Switch, right?
Oh,
Are they on
Are
Switch?
they? Or maybe I'm thinking of Phoenix Wright, honestly.
Well, yeah, there was a crossover with Professor Layton and
Layton.
Phoenix
Yeah.
Wright, yeah.
yeah. That just came to Switch, right?
Phoenix Wright did,
Phoenix
I think.
Wright, yeah.
Yeah, the trilogy did. Yeah.
So I think that
WarioWare.
does well.
WarioWare needs to be
there
on
is
Switch.
no Switch game for it yet, and that's why I was kind of irritated that they put it on 3DS. I was like, no, like, just abandon it. Just please put it on Switch.
Well, but I mean, this is kind of what Austin's talking about in his question, right? It's like there was a lot of WarioWare touched games that require both screens.
Yeah.
It's like, how would you even really do it? You know, my kind of take on this, and something that they could absolutely do if Nintendo embraced this, is the flip grip. The flip grip is it's a third party device basically to play games vertically in handheld mode, right? It's just a little piece of plastic. You slide your Switch in, you put the Joy-Cons on the side, right? When you do this, you're holding the Switch vertically. You could easily have the top screen be the top screen of a 3DS or DS game, and then the bottom half of the screen be the touchscreen part. And I think that would work just fine. I think that basically we would just need Nintendo to embrace that or put out their own first party version of it in order to have some of these game systems.
How would you play that on your TV, though?
I mean, I guess you really wouldn't be able to. I guess that's kind of the
take
caveat.
Your whole TV,
yeah,
flip it,
and then you have to touch the screen.
yeah.
Okay, maybe it wouldn't work, right? If they're trying to stick with the caveat.
Yeah, I would just make a new WarioWare that didn't do dual screen.
Yeah,
Right.
they could do something with the Joy-Cons or something that could be kind of innovative, I feel like.
For sure.
HD Rumble or
Oh yeah, definitely. That's what I'm saying. It could work. It just it can't be a port. Just make a new WarioWare.
I just think there are a few games that really only work in handheld mode on the Switch, like kind of rhythm-based games and a couple things like that, like Japanese games that only work in handheld mode. And I think like if Nintendo was so willing to drop the whole 3D element from the 3DS towards the end of its life, I think that we could see some Switch games dropping the whole hybrid kind of element from them. So like I would be totally okay to get 3DS ports that are handheld only for the Switch. You know, I think that would be great. There's a lot of games that I would play like that, especially in flip grip mode.
And a lot of the mobile franchises are coming out pretty soon, and they've kind of seems like they've done a pretty good job of adapting to just the Switch, like Fire Emblem Three Houses. Like, I mean, Fire Emblem's been a pretty handheld franchise for the past few iterations of it. And Shin Megami Tensei as well.
Sure. I guess all it really takes is just like spending a lot of time doing like UI redesign.
Yeah,
right?
And the new Pokemon will, be going from 2 screens to 1 screen again.
Right.
It'll be going back.
Although it seems like most of the stuff in Pokemon was just menus and stuff anyway on the bottom screen, so it's not a huge
helpful,
deal.
But, it's not a big deal.
I guess last question before we move on from this, and this is kind of a longer episode because there's just so much news and a lot to talk about with the 3DS, is what do you guys think about whenever like Wii U or Wii and 3DS or DS were kind of these separate pillars, right? We had developers that were working exclusively on handheld, mobile style gaming. And then we had developers that were just focused on the home console experience. Kind of what we were promised with the Switch, I think, was kind of bringing all these developers under one roof. And we were like, oh, okay, well, the game output's going to be massive now. Like, all the games that were coming out to 3DS are now going to be coming out on Switch. And all the home console games that were coming out to Wii U are now coming out for Switch, right? But it doesn't necessarily seem like that's been the case, right? I don't know that we've been seeing that many more games actually developed. What do you guys think about that? Like, for me, it's almost like, are we kind of wasting a little bit of the potential here of combining these two pillars of Nintendo's kind of previous game output?
I don't know.
I just see more promises of like, hey, these developers are going to come to Nintendo. Like they used to say that every other console. Like I remember the Wii came out, all these big developers,
like third-party developers, you mean?
Yeah, they said they're going to be coming, and this is the one console where I see that's actually coming true. Where I'm seeing all these games I never thought would come to Switch. They're here now, and I'm like, wow, I'm down. I'm done doubting Nintendo on this one. I think they're going to come through with a lot of stuff. When it comes to 3DS games coming, I don't know. Maybe not. But
or not even necessarily 3DS games being ported over, but rather like these development teams, even at Nintendo, even first-party games like that were developing for handheld, like what are they doing now for the Switch? Like, are they have they just consolidated everybody into one team, or like where are this like kind of surplus of games that we were kind of promised?
Yeah, it seems kind of like we've had the same amount of first-party Nintendo games. I don't feel like there's been a serious drought of them. I mean, and we've got a few big ones on the rise, like we've already said Fire Emblem and Shin Megami and
it really feels
fall.
like Steam is like a part of Switch now, because it feels like every time I'm playing a Steam game, I'm like, is it on Switch? Oh, yes, it is.
And that's
Sure.
indie games.
Maybe that's the trade-off, right? It's like more
We get
third-party
tons of
support,
indie games.
indie support.
They've killed my PC gaming.
Yeah, same.
Almost completely. Yeah.
Well, my
I'm happy with
gaming
that.
PC is also way too old now to play modern games. You have any thoughts on this, Matt, before we move on?
Yeah, I don't see an influx of games, but I feel like there are certain things that we see an increase in quality. I mean, minus when we talk about Mario Maker 2, we see all of these new features that like Nintendo Switch is like the Mario Maker experience. And I would even go as far as saying like Mario Tennis feels like really well done.
Smash,
Smash, of
Smash is
course.
great.
Yeah, all of those games. Maybe we see an increase in quality on these games.
That would make sense. Sure.
Rather than a larger library or more releases.
Sure. Yeah, I can see that as well. And you reminding me of Mario Maker made me realize that the one game we didn't talk about for 3DS was Mario Maker because that sucked on the 3DS. Right, anyway, so that was a good discussion there. Let's just pour one out for the 3DS. RIP. You were a great console. Even if you had issues, you did a lot of shit right, and I kind of wish we had a lot of that stuff back for the Switch. So
you will be missed.
Thank you, 3DS. You did a great job. We'll be playing you when we're dead. All right. That doesn't make sense. All right, let's quickly move on to what we've been playing this week. Do you want to start? What have you been playing, Matt?
I've been playing lots of Smash this week. I've been picking up a new main. So I've been, I usually play Palutena, and I've been trying to main Incineroar.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How's that working out for you?
Not good.
I feel that. I feel that, man.
You don't like the heel character in Smash?
Oh, no, I
Other
love
than
it.
Wario?
But like I'm used to playing Palutena, which is a ranged character. She's got projectiles and
Right.
like keeps the enemy at a distance. But like in Incineroar, you get up close.
And he's slow.
And he's super slow. His run is really weird. It's been difficult, but
Yeah.
I think I'm slowly getting used to it.
Hell yeah.
Used to him.
I'll just kind of go through some stuff I've been playing.
Yeah,
I've been
go
doing a
ahead.
little bit of Mario Maker for the Wii U, but mainly the new game that I've been playing this week is actually called Future Grind. I don't know if you guys have heard of this game. I don't know if you guys ever played like any of the Trials games, but it kind of reminds me of that, or almost
yeah.
like
Wow.
Line Racer or Uniracers for the Super Nintendo.
Oh, I
Even
love
kind of reminds me of that.
Uniracers.
Yeah, so it's basically what it is it's a side-scrolling grinding game.
Also, Uniracers is a rare game, right?
I think so. Yeah, I think it's one of the first
Let's see,
rare games. Yeah,
new Uniracers.
but yeah, I'd love to see a new Uniracers. But maybe just get this game because basically this game came out at $20 on the eShop, and it's actually on sale until the 30th. So if you're listening to this the day this episode comes out, grab this quick. It's 90% off at $2. And it's really, really fun. It's got that kind of Twitch gameplay, and you're basically playing this as a ship that has these like two wheels on it, or these two kind of grind wheels, and you have to like put your wheel on the color of the track that matches your wheel, right? And so it's kind of got this like really quick kind of Twitch gameplay style, but it's got this kind of fun aesthetic and really good music, and it's kind of got a bit of a story to it as well. I'd really recommend this game if you're looking for a fun like little pick up and play game. The other night when I went to go play some Mario Maker, I pressed power on my Wii U and clicked the Mario Maker icon, and then by the time that Mario Maker had booted up, I had turned on my Switch, opened this game, played a level, and beaten it by the time Mario Maker loaded. Right? So it just kind of shows that maybe the Switch UI design is doing something with the speed, right?
Yeah.
But I would really say pick up this game. It's great for a pick up and play bites. That's Future Grind. $2 until May 30th.
Oh, nice.
What about you? Jimmy?
So I actually just finished up Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu.
Nice.
It took me a while, but I got through it. Just caught Mewtwo and all that jazz.
So like the Elite
pretty much done
Four,
with that. Elite Four
little
done.
post-game
Yeah,
stuff?
pretty much all the legendaries caught them. I didn't finish the decks, but
Right.
I did the legendaries and stuff. Pretty much the end game of it.
Well, you'll have time before Pokemon Home comes out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, to get all my other ones. I've also been playing a little bit of Wargroove, that Advanced
hell yeah.
Wars like game for Switch that just came out. I've been really enjoying that. It's like a turn-based strategy, Advanced Wars type.
Yeah.
Really getting into that. I just started playing World of Warcraft for the first time in my life.
Is it the
You playing the vanilla?
We're-
classic version?
We're playing like a Wrath of the Lich King server. So,
Oh, okay.
yeah, it was like some place that we could just go on a private server basically and start playing Wrath of the Lich King. And I've never played before. It's been quite a grind, but I think I'm finally getting into it.
Oh, yeah.
I'm enjoying it quite a bit. Blood Elf Paladin. Respect.
What up, Doc?
And then last one I want to give a shout out to is Mordhau. That it's the new game by the Chivalry developers. It's out for I think just PC now.
Oh,
I've been
okay,
really
cool.
enjoying that. It's like 64 player online, like just 32 versus 32, just totally going at it, medieval combat.
Sounds great.
Yeah, it's pretty
Yeah,
awesome.
you got to show me that sometime.
Yeah.
What about you, Rob?
I've been playing a game called Blazing Beaks.
Oh, hell yeah. That also just came out for the Switch.
Yeah, it is on the Switch. I have not been playing on the Switch.
Mm-hmm.
I've been playing at a friend's house. He has it on PC. And it's like you play as a beaked character. It's not always a bird because, the duck-billed platypus exists.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of plays like Nuclear Throne, like a 360 shooter kind of thing.
Okay. Kind of roguelike.
But it has this thing where you it's like risk versus reward kind of thing. You pick up these artifacts that make the game harder, put challenges on you. When you go to the shop and turn them in, you get items for them. So it can
Gotcha.
you can pick up a whole bunch of artifacts that give you all of these stipulations of how you're playing and stuff. Like you get touched, you die instantly, kind of stuff. And
So
then,
every run is totally different.
Wow.
yeah, it's really fun, really hard. I don't think I've beaten it once, but I wanted to get it on Switch once I saw it was on there, but then we've been playing with mods on Steam, and that makes the game even better. There's people creating characters. You can just download them and play, and that's awesome. So I was like,
cool.
Until Switch does that, I will not be buying it for Switch.
Yeah, I'd love to see mod support on the Switch. I don't think that's coming anytime soon.
So I'm like, oh, that's unfortunate, but it's a lot of fun. I'd recommend it.
Bird up.
Yeah, it's a game that you probably play months before you actually beat it, if you can. I'd like to think I'll beat it one day. We'll see what happens. But yeah, I'm having fun with it. It's a good local co-op game. I'm all about local co-op games.
Yeah,
So
same.
yeah.
Cool. Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. We'll have to check that out as well. Well, I guess that just about does it for this episode, everybody. This is quite a bit of an episode, a little bit longer, but there was just so much shit to talk about this
So
week.
much Pokemon news.
So much stuff. That Pokemon press conference really screwed us over. Anyway, but that was fun. So be excited to play some of those games. I'd like to give a shout out to Corduroy, as always, for providing the music for this podcast. Fantastic theme for this podcast. Thank you, Corduroy. Other than that, you can check us out at Twitter, at Switchheads. On Instagram and Facebook, we're at Super Switchheads. Where can everybody find you, Matthew?
You can find me on Twitter at Matthew, MATHYOU.
Poop Stump on PlayStation and Steam.
I don't have any plugs. Order GoPuff.
Order GoPuff. You might get someone that you might have heard.
I might be involved. We'll see.
And you can find me online at Monolith Fiji. Thank you so much for Austin for sending that question in for this episode. If you'd like to have your question featured on an episode, please write us in. And again, thanks to all the Switch heads for their help in kind of us preparing this 3DS episode today. Is there anything you want to add?
Yeah, all the community support was really great. We're talking on Discord or Facebook, and we got some new followers on Instagram.
Yeah.
So hello if you're a new listener.
Yeah.
New
thank you.
Switch heads.
Yeah.
Switch
We got
heads.
some good comments on our most recent Instagram post as well.
Oh, about Bowsette.
About Bowsette.
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of people are like, why are you talking about this?
You're a little late. Also, porn?
Oh, I do have an Instagram, Sublime Lime.
There you go. Sublime Lime is where you can find Rob on Instagram.
Yeah.
Be sure to tune in next week. Next week's going to be a doozy of an episode. These next two episodes are going to be jam-packed. Next week is our E3 predictions episode. We're going to be going all out with our juicy predictions and kind of thoughts on what we think we're going to be seeing from Nintendo's E3.
And additionally, this is the time where we're going to be really asking a lot of community response. So we'll be creating a bingo sheet.
Yeah.
And we'll see. We got some other surprises.
Yeah, absolutely. So be sure to stay tuned. There's a lot of interesting stuff coming up. And then obviously, June 11th, Nintendo's E3 presentation. We're going to be breaking it down that day and then releasing it the day after, I guess, that Wednesday, June 12th. So stay tuned. We got a lot of cool stuff in the pipe, including some new developer interviews this month. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for listening to Switchheads, Super Switchheads. What's the podcast called? Super Switchheads. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.